Vandami Bante and good morning everyone. Good evening for everyone in West Hemisphere. Welcome to lesson 24 on combinations of mental factors. Okay, I'm Janice Ong. I'm the meeting co-host who will be helping Bante and everyone in today's session. May we invite Bante to start the teaching, please? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Let's start our today's lesson, paying homage to the Buddha, reciting the Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. And today we are going to study about the combination of Cetasika, combination of mental factors. So we already finished the association of mental factors, which is called Sampayoga Naya. Now it is time to study about the combination of mental factors. This lesson has 2 parts. And in this lesson, as Venerable Sara Usilananda says, the main is consciousness, and we will find the mental factors in the particular consciousness. So before we continue about the combination of mental factors, in which consciousness, how many mental factors associate. Now we need to review the association of mental factors, Sampayoga Naya, briefly, so that we can, the information in our mind. This information in association of mental factor are very helpful to study about the combinations of mental factor, Sangahanaya, because they share the same nature. For example, here in number 1, the 7 universal mental factors are found in all the 89 or 121 consciousness, in all types of consciousness. So if they are associated with all types of consciousness, when we find the consciousness, when we find in particular consciousness how many mental factors associate, so all 7 must be included in the association. So at least 7. So there is no consciousness associate only with 6, because these 7 are universal to all consciousness. So they will associate with all consciousness. In this way, all the information in Sampayoga Naya, the association of mental factors, will be very helpful in the combination of mental factors. So in the association of mental factors, we take the mental factors and find the consciousness. So here, 7, Phasa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Ekagata, Jivitendriya, Manasikara. These 7. So when we find how many consciousness associate with these 7 mental factors, so we get the 89 or 121. Then if we find how many consciousness arise with the Vitakka, we already found 55. So in lesson 22 and 23, we already studied. So 55. For the Vichara, 66. So here, Vitakka and Vichara. Among the 54 sense-sphere consciousness, only 10 are dissociated consciousness. They are Tripanja Vijnana, two set of five-fold sense consciousness. So here also for the Vichara also. In return, when we find the consciousness, when we find the mental factors in the consciousness, so for the two set of five-fold sense consciousness, Tripanja Vijnana, the Vitakka will be exception. Vitakka will not associate with these 10 consciousness. And the other 44 sense-sphere consciousness, when we find the mental factors in these 44 consciousness, Vitakka will associate the mental factors. So in this way, keeping all the information from the association of mental factors is very helpful in the combination of mental factors. Then for the Vichara, the difference is in case of Vichara, the second jhana also exception. It becomes the exception. So from the third jhana, it will start. So altogether 66 consciousness associated with Vichara. Then Adhimokha. So we already studied these 7 nayas, so we will not explain detail again. For the Adhimokha, then 11 are exception and 78 consciousness are associated. Then here, you see for the Adhimokha, in unwholesome consciousness, the consciousness associated with doubt is exception. So when we find associated mental factor for the Vichikiccha Sahagata Chitta in the unwholesome consciousness, the Adhimokha will be exception. Then Viriya. So in Viriya, the 16 consciousness from the rootless are exception. And in other consciousness, the Viriya will be associated mental factors. So 73. And for the PT, so in case of PT, we need to notice about here PT dissociated with dominance sahagata, the consciousness accompanied by displeasure feeling. So in unwholesome 12, 2, and also here equanimity. So then the 4 unwholesome are, 6 unwholesome are equanimity. So in this way, we will exclude the PT in the dominanza 2 and equanimity 55. So when we find the associated mental factor for these 70 consciousness, PT will be exception. So for the Upekha Sahagata, PT is exception. And body consciousness for the 4th jhana. So here also 4th jhana. In 4th jhana, consciousness PT is absent. Then Chanda. For the Chanda, it's quite easy. All the root consciousness and Moha Mula, the consciousness accompanied by delusion 2. Altogether 20 consciousness, and Chanda will be exception. So the only thing which makes difficulties in the association and combination method, these Pakinaka Chitasika, the occasional mental factors, make confusion. So if you study the rules of these occasional factors, the 2 methods, 2 nayas will be quite easier. Okay, so let's review the unwholesome group. So among the 14 unwholesome mental factors, 3 groups led by the Moha, Lobha, Dosa. So here Lobha, Dosa, Moha. But the Moha group, in the Moha group, the 4 factors are universal to all unwholesome, universal unwholesome fetters. So akusala sararanas, that is why the moha group come first. Moha, ahirika, nutapa, and odacha. Then for the lobha group, these three associated with only 8 lobha mula. And they are also lobha associated with every lobha mula chitta. Whenever lobha mula chitta arises, the lobha associate. For the deity and mana, so deity associated with the deitigata sampayutta and associated with round view. And mana associated with deitigata vipayutta, the consciousness dissociated from round view. This is the lobha group. Then for the dosa group, dosa, isa, machariya, kukucha. These 4 factors occurs only in dosa mula chitta. Only in dosa mula chitta. So in 18.7 consciousness, these 4 factors cannot be found. Among these 4 factors also, hatred is common to all chitta. Hatred will accompany. And the other 3, isa, machariya, and kukucha, will be occasional. And also, when they arise, according to the condition, only one of them will arise, not all 3 together. So that's why isa, machariya, kukucha arise separately and occasionally. Okay, so for the rest 3 fetters and their sloth and torpor, and they related to lobha mula and dosa mula, all are prompted chitta, sasankharika chitta. And this makes the differentiation from sasankharika to asankharika. So for the sasankharika chitta in the lobha mula and dosa mula, altogether 5. In these 5 consciousness, the sloth and torpor will be associated. And the other 84 consciousness, these 2 will be absent. Then doubt. The doubt associated with only the consciousness associated with doubt. So only one consciousness. In case of 88 consciousness, the doubt will be exception. So as you see, for the akusala cetasika, they associate only with unwholesome consciousness. They never associate with rootless consciousness and beautiful consciousness. So we can keep this information in our mind. Then let's continue about the Sopana Cetasika. So there are 4 nayas in the Sopana Cetasika for the 25 beautiful mental fetters. Here, the first group, Saddha, Sati, etc., 19 mental fetters occur in 59 or 91 beautiful consciousness, the Sopana Chitta. And Virati occurs in the mundane level, wholesome sense-pure Mahakusala, wholesome sense-pure consciousness. And in the supramundane level, with the 8 supramundane consciousness. So they have the different nature in mundane level and supramundane level. We already mentioned that. And you need to keep this information in mind. Then Abhamanya Cetasika, the 2 illimitables, Karuna and Mudita. They occur in 28 consciousness. The great wholesome, same as the wholesome sense-pure consciousness. And great functional, this is the extra one. Then and sublime, here 12 sublime consciousness of first 4 jhana. So each jhana contains 3 consciousness, wholesome, resultant, and functional. That is why 4 jhana becomes the 12 sublime consciousness, except the 5th jhana. Then for the last one, Paññādhikālaṅkāra, that is the Paññā, wisdom faculty, arise in 47 consciousness associated with knowledge. So they are called the Tihetuka Chitta, triple rooted consciousness, the 47. Because including the wisdom faculty as the non-delusion root, it complete the 3 roots. Okay, so now we already reviewed about the association of mental factors and the information about the mental factors. Okay, let's start our study today for the new things. That is the absence of mental factors. The absent mental factors. The absent mental factors. So in the Sangahanaya, which is called the combination of mental factors or Chitta Chetasika Naya, according to Sarah Usilananda Biwansa. There, we need to find out how many mental factors are associated with a particular consciousness. So we need to know about the absent mental factors in consciousness. And here, Virati. So let's conclude some information from the associations of mental factors and Sampayoganaya. So here, Virati, the three abstinence cannot be found in the functional consciousness of the sublime consciousness. Because when we recall the consciousness, the Virati associate. So only the 8 wholesome sense-pure consciousness or 8 great wholesome consciousness in mundane consciousness. So for the functional consciousness, there's no Virati. So Virati is absent. And for the sublime consciousness, there's no Virati because the Virati is only wholesome sense-pure group and supramundane group, only 2 groups. If you remember, it is clear, the functional consciousness and sublime consciousness, no Virati. So the Virati are absent. Then Abhidhamma, 2 illimitable are absent in supramundane citta. Because in the supramundane citta, Abhidhamma, the consciousness we found in 28, there's no supramundane. So for the Virati, 2 groups, and for the Abhidhamma and supramundane group, Lokuttara. Then the Virati and Abhidhamma together fight. They absent in sense-pure resortance, Mahavipaka, the resortant consciousness, and both of the Virati and Abhidhamma are absent in the resortant consciousness. Okay, so this is the explanation from the Abhidhamma Sangaha. You can see, you can check the Pali text and translation in the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. So it mentioned in the verses. So here, if we make the conclusion about the Virati absent, functional, sublime, and also resorting, sense-pure resorting. And Abhidhamma, 2 illimitable absent in supramundane and sense-pure resorting. So whenever we search for the associated mental factors for this consciousness, the respective group will be absent. Then we need to know another method. Some mental factors makes the distinction among the beautiful types, beautiful consciousness. So not related to the non-beautiful of unwholesome consciousness and rootless consciousness. This is only for the mental factors which make the distinction among the beautiful types of consciousness. So the first one is jhana factors. You may remember there are 5 jhana factors: vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. So vitaka, vichara, piti, they are separate mental factors. And sukha is feeling. So it is one of the feelings, 5 feelings. Then ekagata. So ekagata becomes the jhana factor when it is developed by the other condition, but it contains in the universal. So it is associated with all types of consciousness, but here the jhana factors. So the jhana factors are the basis of distinction in supramundane citta. When we find the associated mental factors in the supramundane citta, we need to consider about the jhana factors, because in the supramundane citta, in the 14 supramundane citta, they are divided according to the jhana. The first jhana, all 5 factors will accompany. And for the second jhana, there's no vitaka. For the third jhana, there's no vitaka and vichara. In this way, the jhana factors will be the distinction in the enumeration of mental factors in the supramundane consciousness. Then second one, the illimitable and jhana factors are basis of distinction in sublime consciousness. So when we count the associated mental factors in sublime consciousness, mahakata, so they are immaterial, 5 material sphere consciousness and immaterial sphere consciousness. They are 27 sublime citta. If we find the associated mental factor for these 27 consciousness, we need to consider about the illimitable, because the illimitable apamanya, cittasika, they associate with the form of 4 jhanas. And in case of the last jhana, 5th jhana, they are absent. So they make differentiation form of 4 jhana from 5th jhana. Then for the jhana factor, it is clear because they are a jhana factor, they associate for the first jhana and then absent accordingly. Then for number 3, the abstinence, viddati, and knowledge, jnana, and zest, piti. These 3 types. So viddati contains 3. So altogether 5 mental factors are the basis of distinction in this sense-pure, beautiful citta. So sometimes, for the viddati, the wholesome consciousness, the viddati will be present, and functional and resultant consciousness, the viddati will be absent. So it makes the distinction. Then for the knowledge, jnana samyukta citta, knowledge is jnana. That is why jnana samyukta citta, the consciousness associated with jnana, it will be present. And jnana vipyuta citta, consciousness dissociated from knowledge, that knowledge will be absent. That is why knowledge, jnana, also one of the distinction. And zest, piti. You remember that piti absent in the upekha sahagata, they accompanied by equanimity feeling. So all the consciousness accompanied by equanimity feeling, the zest, piti will be absent. And in the consciousness accompanied by joy, the piti will be present. That is why piti also one of the distinction in the sense-pure, beautiful consciousness. So these all information are very useful to classify in 2 ways of association method and combination method. So otherwise, it will not be easy to remember, easy to memorize all the consciousness in particular mental factors and all the mental factors in the particular consciousness. So in order to understand without studying by heart, you need to keep all the information in your mind. Okay, so according to the Abhidhamma Vibhavini Tika, it adds in the sense-pure citta, the illimitable are also the basis of distinction. Here, the illimitable are not included. This is according to the Abhidhamma Sangaha itself. But for the Vibhavini say the illimitable make the distinguishing the wholesome from the functional and resultant. A wholesome and functional from resultant, because two illimitable can associate with wholesome and functional, but it does not associate with resultant. That is why the illimitable are also considered as the distinction in the sense-pure beautiful citta. This is the Abhidhamma Vibhavini's view. So you can note, and in the late honorable level of Abhidhamma exam, the Vibhavini will be included. Okay. So let's see the brief counting of the 33 Naya, because we are going to study the 33 method, 33 Naya of the combinations of Mandaphadas. And the first group, Lokuttara. So it comes from, according to the Abhidhamma Sangaha's order, the Lokuttara Mahagata. So from the highest point. Then Kamavachara Sobhana. After that, the Akusala and Ahituka. So they are reversed in the order of Chitta. So Akusala comes first in this case. This is the order of Abhidhamma Sangaha. So for the Lokuttara consciousness, let's see the brief enumeration. There are 36. This is the utmost enumeration. So Anya Samana, 13, and beautiful feather is Abhamanya, because Abhamanya illimitable does not associate with the Lokuttara. That is why in the Lokuttara also the Abhamanya are absent. And when we find the consciousness associated with the Abhamanya, the Lokuttara, Supramana Citta are absent. So that is why if you keep the one information, and then you can use it in other Naya, in other method too. This is the way of Abhidhamma study. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. So in order to study in easy way, our senior monks find many conclusion, many essence of the teaching in Abhidhamma. So by the guideline of this teaching, we can understand easily about the Abhidhamma. So here, the 36 Mandaphadas can associate with Lokuttara Citta, like unwholesome Mandaphadas can never associate with Lokuttara Citta. Okay, so for the Mahagata 27, 5 material sphere, 15, and immaterial sphere 12. So they all are jhana citta. So in the Lokuttara, there will be 5 nayas. Then for the second group, Anya Samana 13, and beautiful Mandaphadas except the virati, because in case of the consciousness associated with virati, at that moment, the sublime consciousness are absent. All the sublime consciousness are absent. Only the Lokuttara and wholesome sense sphere associate. So here, only the 35 consciousness. Okay, here this should be 22. So except virati, that must be 22. That's why it becomes the 35 Mandaphadas will be associated with Mahagata. So we need to make the correction here, 22. Then here also for the Mahagata consciousness also, there will be 5 nayas. Then 3 Kama Vachara Sobhana Citta, sense pure beautiful consciousness. Here, Anya Samana 13 all, and beautiful 25 all. So for the wholesome consciousness, the virati and Abhamanya, both of them can associate. That's why all 38 except the unwholesome Mandaphadas are the Mandaphadas to associate in the Kama Vachara Sobhana Citta. So there are 12 neya in the Kamavachara Sobhana Chitta. Then for the Akusala Chitta, so Anya Samana and unwholesome here, as you see that all the beautiful mental factors will be absent. That's why they never miss each other, beautiful and unwholesome. They come separately. But Anya Samana, in case of Anya Samana, they consider in every type of consciousness. So here, Anya Samana 13 and unwholesome factor 14, altogether 27. So in the unwholesome chitta, there will be 7 nayas. Then for the Ahetuka group, here, Chanda, when we find the consciousness associated with Chanda, so rootless consciousness, all the rootless consciousness and Mohamula too, altogether until consciousness are absent. That is why here Ahetuka, in the Ahetuka Chitta, Chanda is absent. That's why even in the Anya Samana group, Chanda is absent. That's why only 12 mental factors can be found in the Ahetuka. So this is the brief enumeration to make clear what to consider in the respective consciousness. So Lagutara, Mahagata, Kamavachara Sobhana, all of them are beautiful groups. That is why they related to the beautiful feathers and Anya Samana. Then unwholesome group, unwholesome consciousness, there's the unwholesome and Anya Samana. For the Ahetuka, so it does not relate to the unwholesome feathers and beautiful feathers, it just related to the Anya Samana, except Chanda. So, okay, so this is not very difficult. So for the Ahetuka Chitta, there will be 4 nayas. Altogether, 33 naya we will study in 2 parts of the combination, lesson of the combination. Okay, let's see first, the first group, the combination of Lakutara. So here we will count for the 40 in large, not 8. The 8 cannot identify because in the case of 8, you may remember when we find the accompanying feeling for the 8, it is not clear. We can consider only for, it can be possible for the, for similar to the first jhana, thus it can be possible for the joyful feeling. But in case of enlarged method, they are divided, the 8 supramundane consciousness, 4 mega and 4 phala chitta are multiplied by the 5 jhana. That is, in this way, supramundane consciousness becomes 14. So you may remember about this enumeration in the Chitta chapter. The first jhana, so the first jhana contains the 8 consciousness. These 8 consciousness are Sotapatti Mega, Sakadagami Mega, Anagami Mega, Arhata Mega, Sotapatti Phala, Sakadagami Phala, Anagami Phala, Arhata Phala, the all supramundane consciousness. That is why in every level of jhana, all supramundane consciousness contains. So now for the first jhana, so just remember in the Lakutara Chitta, at most 36 will be associate. So Anya Samana 13 and the beautiful mental feathers except Abhidhamma, that is 23. So altogether 36. So let's see for the first jhana. The first jhana, you may remember when we count for the first jhana about the jhana feathers. So all complete set of the 5 jhana feathers associated with the first jhana. That is why there is no absent in the jhana feathers. So Abhidhamma 13 and beautiful feathers except 2 Abhidhamma. So Anya Samana 13 and beautiful feathers except 2 Anya Samana, Abhidhamma, altogether 23. Then, so altogether 36 mental feathers accompany, mental feathers associated with the 8 first jhana consciousness of supramundane. So if we add the mundane first jhana, so there are 3 mundane first jhana. You need to make clear that if we count all first jhana, there are 11 first jhana in number. But here, if we divide it in mundane and supramundane, mundane first jhana 3 and supramundane first jhana 8. So here we are talking about the supramundane consciousness. So in the first jhana supramundane consciousness, 8 consciousness, there are 36 consciousness you can find. So these 36. In case of Lokuttara, in the supramundane consciousness, here the exception is only Abhidhamma. So in 23, the Virati, Chittasika, Samavacha, Samakamanda, Sama Ajivas are contained in this group. So in the supramundane chitta, Virati arise together and always. You may remember I already explained it about the nature of Virati, different natures of Virati in mundane level and supramundane level. That is why they arise together, and they arise whenever the supramundane consciousness arises. So here, among the 23, there are 3 Virati. So that is because the attainment of enlightenment, of the attainment of Magga, eradicate all inclination toward the wrongdoings. They work together. They remove all the inclination towards the wrongdoings. You may consider at the moment of the supramundane chitta, the person is not intentionally refraining from wrongdoings of bodily and verbal wrongdoings. But the function of abstinence, Virati, in the supramundane, at the moment of supramundane consciousness, is to eradicate all the nature, even including the underlying nature or inclinations towards the wrongdoings. That's why after that, after the arising of the supramundane consciousness, there's no more commitment, because the Virati eradicate the underlying nature of the wrongdoings. Okay, for the second jhana, it's quite easy. So the difference is Vitaka. In the second jhana, Vitaka is absent, because in case of Vitaka, you see the second jhana, starting from second jhana, all the absent. All the jhanas are absent. So Vitaka absent, so only 12 Anya Samana, and same previous one, the beautiful 23. So 35. So for the third jhana, so quite easy. Vidyaka and Vichara absent. That is why 11 Anya Samana. So 34 in total. And for the fourth jhana, Vidyaka, Vichara, and Piti. So here you may remember the absence of Piti, Dosa Mula, Ubekha Sahagata, Chatutha jhana. So because when we studied about the jhana consciousness, in order to attain the fourth jhana, one need to overcome the piti. One need to overcome the piti. So that is why, although the fourth jhana accompanied by joyful feeling, piti is absent. That's why the joyful feeling is called the sukha. So that types of sukha is called the nepitika sukha. Nepitika sukha, the happiness without delight, without joy, without the piti. That's so here you need to note this information. Only the fourth jhana, the happiness, sukha, not related to the piti. So we can find that in the teaching of the Sutta Sutta Pitaka. So Sappittika Sukha and Nippitika Sukha. So for the Sappittika Sukha, this in former 3 jhana, the Sukha Sahagata, Somanasa Sahagata, and that Sukha and Somanasa associated with the Piti. That's why they are called the Sappittika Sukha. For the 4th jhana, the happiness does not associate with the Piti. That is why that is called the Nippitika Sukha. Okay, then for the 5th jhana, same as the 4th jhana, the fetters are 33 and same. But the difference is in the 4th jhana, the feeling is sukha or somanasa feeling. And for the 5th jhana, the feeling is upekha. So here the feeling is joyful feeling, and here is the equanimity feeling. That is why they are shown as separately. They are shown separately. So even though they're same in number and same in the fetters, the mental fetters of feeling is different for 2 jhana, the 4th and 5th jhana. Okay, this is the combination of the supramundane consciousness. So when you find the associated mental fetter for the respective consciousness of the supramundane, you can identify in each consciousness of supramundane consciousness and how many mental fetters associate, and including consciousness of how many realities are arising in the groups. Because when they are associated and then they arise together, they vanish together, and they take the same object, and then they based on the same base. They arise based on the same base. So we can consider they are arising in the group. So that become here with the 36 mental fetters, only one of the 8 consciousness can arise. So altogether 37 realities are arising in the group. These are called the nama kalapa, nama group. And so here we can identify the each one by the feeling. So former force, joyful feeling, and the last one, the equanimity feeling. So not difficult for the Lakuttara, the combination of Lakuttara Chitta. So let's continue for the Mahakata Chitta. Here also same as the Mahakata Chitta, also divided into according to the jhana. So 1st jhana, 2nd jhana, 3rd jhana, 4th jhana, each of them related to the 5 material sphere consciousness. So each of them wholesome, resultant, and functional. That's why the 1st jhana contains 3, 2nd jhana 3, 3rd jhana, 4th jhana. All 4 jhana has the three consciousness: wholesome, resultant, and functional. For the 5th jhana, and similarly for 5 material sphere 3 and immaterial sphere, all the immaterial sphere consciousness are included under the 5th jhana because they has only 2 jhana fetters of equanimity and ekaggata, the one-pointedness. So for the 5th jhana, there are 15 5th jhana. So you already remember, you already understand this classification in the Chitta chapter. Then let's continue for the associated mental fetters. Here, Anya, Samana, and beautiful. For the sublime consciousness, Virati will be absent. The Abhidhamma will be present. So with the Virati, the absence of Virati, there are 22 beautiful fetters. So 22 beautiful fetters. So altogether, 35 consciousness arise for the 1st jhana, with the 1st jhana. When any one of the 1st jhana consciousness arise, the 35 will accompany. So here you see the Viddhati. So Viddhati, each one of them will arise. Here Viddhati is absent. The Abhidhamma is present here. Among the 22 consciousness and 22 mental factors, Karuna and Mudita are included. So they have the different nature according to their objects. That is why when Karuna arises, the Mudita will not arise. When the Mudita arises, Karuna will not arise. So at one time, in one moment, all 35 mental factors cannot arise. So only the 30, including the one of the illimitable, Karuna or Mudita, one. Including that one factors, only 34 can arise at most in one moment. Then when these two together absent, so taking the other objects, because the jhana also have their respective specific objects. So when one is developing breathing and attain the jhana, at that moment there is no abhamanya, karuna or mudita, because the object of karuna and mudita are the concept of the beings, the concept of the beings. That is why when the consciousness take the different object from the concept of beings, the karuna and mudita, both of them cannot accompany, cannot associate. So only the 33, except the abhamanya, can accompany, can associate for the first jhana for always. Then if we count one of them, one of the karuna or mudita, at that moment, 34, when one develops his first jhana, focusing on the concept of beings, which is suffering, related to the suffering. So at that moment, the karuna arises. So including that karuna, there will be 34. So when one attain the first jhana, focusing on the concept of being associated with the happiness, appreciated joy, the mudita will be included. So 34 with mudita. This 35 is, we count two of them together. Okay, so then for the second jhana, quite easy. The method is quite easy. So only you need to remove the vitaka. So 34. So here also you need to apply the method I explained in the first jhana for the karuna and mudita. Each of them alternatively or according to the condition occasionally arise together. And for the third jhana, so vidyaka and vichara will be exception. So 11 anya samana and 22 become 33. Then for the fourth jhana, vidyaka, vichara, and also piti here, this is what I explained, the nepitika sukha. That is why the piti is absent for the fourth jhana. So altogether 32 mental factors associate with the fourth jhana consciousness. Then for the fifth jhana, here the viddhati and abhamanya, because the abhamanya, in case of the jhana, fifth jhana, the feeling is equanimity. The equanimity. So by the feeling of equanimity, one cannot develop the compassion and appreciative joy. That is why even the abhamanya become absent. So altogether, only 30 mental factors associate with fifth jhana. So now we found the mental factors in specific sublime consciousness. Then here also, same as the supramundane consciousness, the feeling from a fourth jhana, the feelings are joyful. And the less fifth jhana or equanimity, feeling is equanimity. And this is the way of the combination in the sublime consciousness. So for the combination of Kama Vachara Sobhana, so 24 consciousness, since we are beautiful chitta, but we need to make the brief study first. So the first group, second group, third group, wholesome, resultant, and functional. Each one of them contains the 8 consciousness you already know in the Chitta chapter. So according to this classification, we can make the group. Then there are 12 nayas. So when you divide it, the 24 since we are beautiful consciousness, that becomes the 12 nayas. So that 12 nayas, how the mental factors arise with the since we are beautiful consciousness. Let's see, the at most number is 38. Anya Samana and beautiful all, 38. And so for the great result and Vipaga, you may remember both group of Virati and Anya Samana Abhamanya are absent. So only 20. The 20 mental factors, you can consider the beautiful universal 19 and wisdom faculty, only 20 remain. So 2 group absent. So in the resultant, great resultant, the enumeration, the number 33 will be at most enumeration. Then for the great functional consciousness, Anya Samana and beautiful factors is a Virati. So Virati only in the wholesome group. That's why Virati will be absent here. But Abhamanya can be associated in the functional consciousness. So 22 of the beautiful factors, altogether 35. Then, so let's see how it becomes the 12 naya. Each group has 4 naya. So for the great wholesome, there will be 4 naya, and resultant 4 naya, great functional 4 naya. In this way, altogether 12 nayas. So the 4 naya in each group also, according to the grouping in the consciousness, the first couplet. So the couplet, 2 consciousness are taken in the same group. So here, Somnasa Sahagata, Jnana Samyuddha, Asankharika and Sasankharika. Yes, Asankharika and Sasankharika has no difference because as Sayadaw Silananda mentioned in handbooks of Abhidhamma study, because there is no Tina and Meda to bother about. Sayadaw said in that way. The Asankharika and Sasankharika are not different in associated mental factors because there is no Tina Meda to bother about. As you know, the Tina and Meda are unwholesome mental factors. So they can relate only to the unwholesome. So this is the, since we are beautiful. So Tina Meda cannot associate with the beautiful consciousness. That is why the differentiation of the Asankharika and Sasankharika depends on the Tina Meda. So if there is no Tina Meda, there is no difference in Asankharika and Sasankharika. So we can count Asankharika and Sasankharika together. So they become the couplet. So the first couplet, second, third, fourth. So here Jnana Sampayutta and Jnana Vipayutta in the Somanasa Sahagata. So 4 consciousness in each group. 4 consciousness are accompanied by joyful feeling. And 4 consciousness are accompanied by equanimity feeling. Each of them are divided according to the association of the jnana. So among the 4, 2 associated with jnana two dissociated from jnana. So same as in the Upekkha Sahagata. So in this way we get the four couplets. So here, prompt and unprompt chitta do not differ. So do not differ. This is the sentence from the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. It also explains about how we can count in the four couplets in each group. So if you can understand this combination of sense pure beautiful chitta, also quite easy. So first we need to focus on the great wholesome group. First, second, third, fourth, or four couplets. So here, first couplet contains all 38. And second couplet, because here Somanasa Sahagata and Jnana Samyutta, for the Somanasa Sahagata, we don't need to remove the piti. And Jnana Samyutta, we don't need to remove the jnana. So here, second couplet, that is still Somanasa Sahagata. That is why we don't need to remove the piti, but that is jnana vipyuta, so except jnana, that becomes 24. So 37 in the second couplet. Then for the third couplet, it becomes the Upekkha Sahagata. So piti is exception in the Anya Samana group, so 12. And beautiful feathers. So here, this is Jnana Samyutta group. Jnana Samyutta, that is why 25, 37. Even though they are the same in the number 37, they have the different. The second couplet exception is jnana. The third couplet exception is piti. Then for the fourth couplet, the exception both of the piti and jnana becomes exceptions because the fourth jhana upekkha sahagata, thus piti is exception. Then it is jnana vipyuta, that's why jnana also exception. So all 36. So 38, 37, 37, 36. So here we need to note about the illimitable, 2 illimitable and 3 abstinence. So vidati, abhamanya, and vidati, 5 mental factors we need to consider about. All 5 mental factors are included in the beautiful factors 25. So if we talk about we need to remember, we cannot forget it. The information, they always arise separately in the mundane level. Vidati and abhamanya, they arise separately. Only one of these factors can arise at a time. In one time, only one can arise. They cannot arise together, 2 or 3 like this. So when the vidati arises, abhamanya cannot. In the vidati also, when the samma vacha arises, the other 2, samma kammanta and samma ajiva, cannot arise because they have the different nature and different natures. And when abhamanya illimitable arise, the abstinent vidati cannot arise because they also have the different nature. And even in the illimitable, when the compassion arises, the appreciated joint cannot arise. So each one of the 5 can arise in one time. So there becomes a 3-way of enumeration. So for the first couplet, if you get how to calculate for the first couplet, you can apply for all couplets. Here, at most 38. Here we count at most numbers 38. Simultaneously, okay. So at a time, how many can arise? Only 34. Only 34, and 1 from the 5. So becomes the 34 consciousness can arise simultaneously. Then always, so without all these 5 mental factors always arise, mean the 33. So they are equational. That is why always arising mental factors are only 33 for the first couplet. So for the second couplet, we just need to remove the jnana, and for the third couplet, we just need to remove piti. And so for the fourth couplet, piti and jnana both will be removed. In this way, you can apply these three ways of enumeration into every couplet. So, for example, for the second couplet, the at most 37. Simultaneously, it will become 33 and always become 32. So in this way, you need to apply, because in order to understand properly about the associated mental factors for great wholesome, so just to consider the example, when you make the donation, at that moment, there's no virati, there's no Abhidhamma. At that moment, the consciousness arising. If you have the joyful feeling, somanasa sahagata, and the knowledge is present, jnana sampyuta, that is the first. Asankharika and sasankharika has no difference. So that is the first couplet of consciousness arising in your mental process. So because there's no virati at that moment, so virati and Abhidhamma, only the 33. In other case, you are making the donation, making the generosity to the very poor person, developing your mind, in your mind, the compassion, thinking about him. So at that time, the compassion is arising in your mind. That's why it becomes the 34. So in this way, you can apply it in every case of every moment of the great wholesome consciousness with the mental factors. But the 33, any of the 33 mental factors cannot be absent. They will arise like the saddha, sati, etc. Then okay, so to get the enumeration number of the always here, we need to remove all the unfixed agents, aniyata yogis, related to from the utmost number. Then adding one of the unfixed agents, so each one of these 5, you get the simultaneously arising mental factors. Okay, this is the way how we can find the association of mental factors in the great wholesome consciousness. Then let's see the other two groups, quite easy. For the great resultant, you may remember the difference is both virati and Abhidhamma cannot arise in the great resultant. So these 5 will be absent. So there will be no difference for the at most or simultaneously or always for the resultants, because all the unfixed agents are not contained here or are exception. That is why, and only 33 in every moment. So here, same as the great wholesome, the jnana is absent. Then piti absent for third couplets, and there is the jnana and piti both absent in the fourth couplets. And here for neya. Then here the reason of exclusion of the 2 illimitables, because they take solely sense-pure phenomena as their objects. So this is the karma vachara. The illimitable, as I said, they take the concept of beings as their objects. So compassion to the concept of beings with the suffering. The appreciated joy take the concept of beings with the happiness, with the pleasure. So why we can say that is concept of beings? It is composed of ultimate reality, mentality, and materiality process. But the difference is is when we focus on his materiality, that is ultimate reality. When we focus on his mentality, that is also ultimate reality. But if we consider that is the being is the concept. This is just the combination of the mentality and materiality. That is called the concept, no more ultimate reality. When you take that group as the beings, so no more ultimate reality. It is different from the ultimate reality. That is why that is the concept of beings. Then exclusion of absoluteness. There's no reference at the moment when the great resultant consciousness arises. So no reference from wrongdoings. These are two reasons for the illimitable and absentness, for being absent in the resultant consciousness. Then for third group, the great functional consciousness, the first complex. So here also 4 naya. Then here, the Abhidhamma can associate only the Virati absent. So 35. So Abhidhamma among the 28 consciousness which Abhidhamma associate, the functional consciousness also contains. That is why the Abhidhamma is no more absent here. And in the same way as the great wholesome consciousness, so second couplet, so jnana is absent. So virati and jnana, because they are in the same group, the beautiful feathers. If we remove 4, it becomes a 21. Altogether 34. Here also, the Abhidhamma is here as an unfixed agent, mental feathers. So we need to consider about the 3 ways of enumeration. So at most 35. If we remove 2 of them, always 33. If we add 1 of them, it becomes 34. It's not difficult. And the third couplet, a PD is exception, but here the jnana is not exception because this is the jnana samyutta group. Because this is the equanimity, the upekha sahagata PD is absent. The fourth group, upekha sahagata, jnana vipayutta PD and jnana are absent. So 35, 34, 34. Here, although they share the same number, they have the different feather. So here jnana is absent, here PD is absent. Then it's become the 4 naya. Then in the great functional consciousness also, we need to find the reason why the virati are absent. And the virati are absent. So here virati, and since we have functional consciousness arise only in Arhat mind, we already said that, then virati absent because Arhat, having cut off all defilements, do not need to deliberately refrain from wrongdoings, evil deeds. So there is no more virati in Arhat's mind when the functional consciousness arises. So without virati. Then 2 illimitable also separately and occasionally. We said that. So that is why at most 35 for the first couplet and simultaneously 34 and always 33. This is the combination of 3 groups. So Lakutara and Lakutara and sublime consciousness Mahagata, and also sincere beautiful consciousness. We finished all 3 groups of combinations today, and for the next lesson we will have only 2 of asovana, non-beautiful. One is akusala and ahituka. So after that, we will finish all the combination of mental fetters. Then, according to the Sayadaw Usilananda, Sayadaw makes the mixture method missing the association and combination together, and we can identify in each case when we get the mental factors, we know the consciousness. When we get the consciousness, we know the mental factors after studying both method of association and combination, citta, cittasika naya, and cittasika citta naya. Okay, so today I'm going to stop here my explanation. We will continue to the Q&A session. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, thank you, Bante. Thank you very much for your teaching. May Bante leads us in making aspiration and sharing of merits, please.
The next week's aspiration and lecture our merit here today. We already accumulate the merit of studying Abhidhamma. So please follow me, repeat after me. And imina punya kamena
Imina punya kamena
mami bala samagamo
ma me bala samagamo
satam samagamo hodu
satam samagamo hotu
yava nibbana patiya
yawa nibbana patiya
idami punyam
idame punyam
asawakaya vaham hodu
asawakayam waham hotu
idami punyam
idame punyam
nibbana sapachayo hodu
nibbanasa pachaya hotu
mama punya bhagam
mama punya bhagam
sabha satanam bhajemi
sabha sattanam bhajemi
te sabbe
te sabbe
me samam
me samam
punya bhagam labantu
punya bhagam labantu.
sadhu
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu.
Thank you, Bante, and everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet on next Sunday, may all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bante.